I
think it started. Let me see.
And we are live.
We are live, guys, for the very first DCA show, Digital Crypto Answers. And welcome, guys, to the very first one. We've been hyping it up all week now. Brand new show that features Rob from Digital Asset News and James from Invest Answers. And I've talked to both of them, and I really love what they have to say. And you know what? We're going to do this for you guys. We're going to have a lively chat, obviously, about crypto, what's going on this week, what has happened last week, and other various things. So welcome, guys, to the very first DCA.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So unlike some of the other shows where everyone is just, people are just talking among themselves, no Q&A, I think what we want to do is not only do we talk among ourselves, but also answer some few questions. I think more interactive, and I think people will learn a bit more from it. All right. I'm so used to my own spiel, so this is very different. I don't have a whole lot of stuff to show. So let's just start with the very first thing, guys. What surprised you, or what was your biggest takeaway from last week? Rob, James, you take it.
I'll let James take it first.
That's an interesting question. First of all, hello everybody. Thanks for making this happen. And just in terms of George and Rob, I think these are two true gentlemen, and I really respect you both and like working with you. So in terms of what I saw that was very interesting last week is normally in the past, like over the last 3 years or something, when there's a big move in, say, Bitcoin, a lot of the alts follow.
Yeah.
But this time, because I like to watch correlation between different asset classes and also between different cryptos. What we saw was, okay, Link pops. A day later, Solana pops. Today, Polkadot popped. Ethereum has popped over the last 48 hours. So that was, for me, very interesting. So things aren't working in unison anymore. And that's great. And we have still some laggards like Matic that are just fast asleep. But hopefully they'll pop soon. But you can't win them all, as they say. That's why a little bit of diversification is good. So that was surprising to me, and that's also a very good sign. When everything flows together, it's not as fun, but when things are different, then it means you can kind of buy in and trail. So I'll give you an example of what I did on Friday. I was watching the Bitcoin action, and I saw it pop. And I always know there's like a 5-minute delay between a big Bitcoin move and Ethereum move. And I went straight into Ethereum. And then a few days later, it was $260 more expensive. So I found that interesting.
Yeah, it's all interesting. I think that's what everybody expects, right? We all expect the same thing. And every time I expect the same thing, it does the exact opposite of what I think it is. That's why I always talk about we all talk about the same thing, dollar cost averaging. Damn it. I got to tell you, I'm not smart enough like James at Invest Answers to figure out the market. So I just say, you know what? I'm just going to DCA whatever goes down, I'll buy. But what I always see is the same. We always used to see the same thing, right? Bitcoin would pop, a bunch of alts would go like crazy, and then everybody's a genius, right? And now it does a little bit different. So today, I saw Polkadot. What did Polkadot pop? 20%, 25%, something crazy like that?
At the high, yeah. So the last, I think 24 hours, 26 hours has been very strong on Polkadot.
Yeah, it's great. And what's also surprising to me is this last week, before we got on, me and George were talking, and I was like, so what do you think about this whole market? He goes, you know what? He goes, this is the 11th day, just going forward. Yeah. He goes, guess what? He goes, we got to come down a little bit. What I find surprising is, weren't we just at $1.3 trillion not too long ago? And then we hit 1.7 trillion.
Yeah.
Let me do some quick math. It's like $400 billion, right? $400 billion in 10, 15 days or something like that. That's roughly half the market of the all-time high back in 2017 when we went crazy. So when I see something like this, I'm like, is this sustainable? No, it's not sustainable. But if you just do the right things and not go crazy and not leverage yourself 100x, I think it'll be okay.
What did you see, George? What took you back?
To what you said, James, about kind of like this light decoupling that we saw, right? I think that's normal. It's just that we haven't seen it for a while. I don't know if you guys remember when Bitcoin was stuck at the 60,000 range, right? Like it was just basically not moving sideways, but the altcoins started exploding in a big way. And during that time, when Bitcoin had volatility, even when Bitcoin was coming down to the 50s and back up to 60s, the alts held. Like I even remember talking, doing shows and saying, hey, the big caps are even holding better than Bitcoin at this point, right? So there's definitely been periods where Bitcoin dominance was just coming down, and that's because Bitcoin is just kind of topped out or suppressed. But now we're seeing Bitcoin unleashed, so that Bitcoin dominance went up, and then altcoins kind of was stagnant. But now, after taking a little bit breather around 41,000, now the altcoins are breathing again. And it just seems like, it just comes in rotation sometimes. Like you mentioned, Polkadot. Polkadot was very, very lagging compared to some of his peers. It just wasn't moving as fast. And now all of a sudden you have a big pop, right? And the same thing with some of the other altcoins out there. I mean, it's just, and basically and I do agree with Rob, like basically we recover so fast. What happened to all the bears that were saying that we were going to drop to 10,000 or 20,000, right? They just disappeared all of a sudden. So,
well, the bears are there, and the bears are very upset, and they're very hungry because they've been schooled over the last 10 days. So I watched the Bitcoin USD shorts and Ethereum shorts. What's also very interesting is there's a complete lack of correlation between those two. And there's a ton of Ethereum shorts moving in, big time, which means somebody thinks EIP 1559 is going to fail, or Ethereum is going to go back to earth. But I don't see that happening somehow.
I mean, so you guys don't think, because 1559 has been hyped up so long, right? So I'm showing the price right now today. Today I think it's studied out basically because the price came down a little bit right now. But if you look at the last 7 days, last 30 days, has been doing really well, right? Do you think this is like buy the rumor, sell the news, or do you think this will bring more gains afterwards? Or both of you guys? What do you guys think?
Go ahead, James.
I think, Ethereum is the number 2 player, and it's been deemed as a store of value by the big money center banks. Therefore, I think the pressure will not let up. But the 16% haircut in supply starting next week, that will have a big impact on price. So you can't take that type of supply hit. It's like, a fifth of a halvening almost. I think the future is good. Then you have the German funds as well starting next week. They're not going to put 20% in, but they're going to put something in. And again, the number 2 game in town is Ethereum. They know that. So I don't see it. I don't see it going down.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I've talked about this. I mean, Ethereum's going to do great things, and we all know it's going to be great, right? That's EIP 1559. There was an article that came out that said that they found a bug, and they might actually have a delay. But then when I took a look at the Twitter account for the Ethereum developers, I forgot the gentleman's name, but he said, no, we're going to go forward, and it's actually going to go on for August 4th. So they did confirm it, and they're going to go that way. I just think when I look at things, Ethereum is up there, and they have a long way to fall if the things don't work out right. I know that this EIP 1559 is pretty tricky. People think that it will drop these fees, but that's not really what it's going to do. No. And it's actually going to do a little bit. It really just takes away a lot from the miners and goes to the validators. And if you want to increase your transaction time, you got to tip them, which I always think is weird. It's like tipping Uber. It's just strange, but whatever. So like I see these types of things, and I'm like, you know what? I think everybody will invest into it because that's the narrative, and that's all that you hear. Ethereum, Ethereum, Ethereum. Later on, we'll see what happens. But like I've always said, it's all about market share. 1%, 2% here. Polkadot takes a little bit, 1.5%. You got to go down and take in this percent, and before you know it, you're down 10%. Where did my market share go? Well, that's what it is. So I see it's doing well just in the short term. I don't know what's going to happen in the long term. I have no crystal ball.
How invested are both of you guys in Ethereum? Not the dollar amount, but like in terms of your overall portfolio, is it a big amount or a small amount?
100%. No, I'm just kidding. James, what do you got? How much you got roughly?
It's about 38.6% right now.
James always has the exact answer.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Google sheet with all the loads. So
you know what? I just looked at mine, which I tell people don't look at your portfolio, but of course today I had to look at everything, and I have it all arranged in it to which ones are my highest ones. Bitcoin is by far and away the number one. I'm just a very conservative, boring investor. I just am. But second and third is Cardano and Ethereum, and they keep flipping back and forth. So that's all I'll say about that one.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at right now. It's a little bit above 10%. I would say it's about 12% of my portfolio, and it's very just like you, Rob. I have Cardano like very close, but it's not number 3. But Ethereum, yeah, I think it's way more beyond just 1559, right? DeFi is definitely growing and is still in its infancy, right? And all the biggest players are still on ETH or using a ERC20 token. So from 1559, I think it's interesting. But obviously going forward with investments like Germany and others, you got big institutions that's now wanting a piece of the DeFi cake, and they're going Ethereum, right? Because it's the easiest way for them to get exposure. So I just feel like Ethereum's going to have a big future. At one point in time, I wasn't like that. Like there's been times where I'm like, especially during crypto winter, I don't know how you guys felt, because everything was getting decimated. I mean, even Bitcoin, but at least Bitcoin, was at like that negative 85%, but everything else was like at negative 95, 96%, and it wasn't recovering nearly as fast. So there's been points where I'm like, what's the point of holding Ethereum, and what's the point of holding something that can't scale? But now DeFi has come full circle and is really showing strength. It has really changed my mind.
Yeah. You know what? So here's the question. Today's August 1st, right? August 4th is EIP 5059.
Right.
If you had somebody out there, because first of all, thanks everybody for watching. We all appreciate it. Everybody's sitting there watching, and they're asking the same question. Should I invest into Ethereum right now? Because didn't it just pump like an amazing amount? So would you tell your own mother, hey, invest a little bit into Ethereum right now? Or would you just say, you know what, wait, because this 1559 is gonna blow over?
I think you got to zoom out and think about where the puck is going to be, using that sport ice hockey analogy, which I don't know very well. But, it's pretty clear that Ethereum is going to $8,000. So if you're buying at 2,000, it's a 4x. And that's going to happen within a year. With not investment advice, of course, a high degree of confidence, however. If you look at the money and the adoption and the amount of, I call it the DeFi revolution happening, the numbers are staggering. Yeah. And also the whole space itself is huge. It's going after a $400 trillion total addressable market. So there's enough room for everybody, not just Ethereum, but also Solana and Cardano and stuff. So
great point. George, what do you got?
Wait, but by the way, I forgot to introduce you guys. In case any of you guys are not familiar with Digital Asset News or Invest Answers, their URL is placed in the description. So make sure you guys check out their channels and subscribe, in case I forgot to mention that. But I want to answer a fan's question real quick. Rob, why do you this has nothing to do with Ethereum, just real quick. Why do you stream in front of a pool? Could you give us context on that pool?
Well, this is a green screen. I don't know if you guys knew. No, I'm just kidding. This is a pool. Yeah, of course it's a pool. So the reason why I do it in here is because my wife kicks me out of the house, and she's like, "Get out of the house. You're already moping around here." I started my channel 2 years ago, and it wasn't even me on a screen. It was just me just actually screenshotting, and I actually recorded it in the closet because it was the best audio, believe it or not. And then as time went on, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna record in here. And my wife's like, she's like, I got stuff to do, because she also works from home. She's a property manager. She does a lot of things online and stuff like that. She goes, well, go out the pool room. I go, I guess so. At least it's nice. I get to see outside. So this is why I come out here all the time. And I get left alone. I don't got to be bothered. So that's pretty much why.
Have you ever like just dived in during a show and just came back out?
No, but I will dive in. I made a bet with somebody. I think it was
With me.
Yeah, it was James. Well, it's been a lot of people so far. It's been James and Buy the Dip, Sell the Tip. I said that when I hit 500,000 subscribers or Bitcoin hits 100,000, I think it was something like that. I was like, I'll jump in the pool. I take a dip in the pool every day. It doesn't matter if it's hot or cold. I'm always in that pool. So
wow. That's the advantage of having an indoor pool. you can enjoy it 24/7.
This is true. This is it.
Hey James, I'm just curious. Where did you come up with your 8,000 figure for Ethereum? How did you come up with that?
Well, I have a detailed price prediction model that's based on a number of different factors. It looks at the total size of the market. It looks at the relation between. So I spent a lot of time trying to price predict Bitcoin. So another key factor is the price of Bitcoin and the ratio of Ethereum to Bitcoin. So I believe at the top of this bull market, it'll be probably close to 10 ratio. So 10 ETH for every Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin hits 100 grand, Ethereum's hitting 10 grand, and a whole bunch of other factors. In fact, I have a lot of it. I did an ETH versus Cardano video a while back, and my models are in there. And I always stay on top of my price prediction models, but I haven't had to tweak that at all. In fact, if anything, I need to start beefing it up. And then you have people like, I think it was Raoul Paul, a big fan of his. He came out, banged his fist on the table, and he said, Ethereum, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, 20,000 by summer 2022. Boom. Like, I've never heard such conviction. I can be have high levels of conviction on certain things, but you don't predict something like that with such conviction. And that blew me away. And you've got other people that say 40,000 and 10,000, like my 8,900 is the specific number, is super conservative, heavily sandbagged, but I believe we can get there.
You know, recently I've been hearing so many people say that they have sources, although those sources are questionable. So I started saying I have sources too, and my sources tell me that Ethereum is going to hit 10,000. I think 10,000 is good, and I think my model maybe not as scientific as yours, James, but I do equate these predictions based on a ratio versus Bitcoin, and based on past runs that we've had. Altcoins definitely, go up much faster than Bitcoin and go higher. There's a multiplier, and yeah, if Bitcoin goes to 100,000, let's just say around 100,000, 3x. Ethereum could definitely go 5x, 6x. If Bitcoin goes 5x or 10x, man, Ethereum could be like 20x from here, right? It could definitely go a lot higher. But yeah, it's just I guess it's fun to speculate or say my sources tells me that it's gonna go to 10,000.
That's right. My source is this guy that knows a guy who knows a guy. Yeah, one of those deals. No, I can see that. We just did a price prediction video. It was actually me, James, and Mike the investor. And when we didn't agree. Me and James didn't agree on everything, but there was a couple things that we were close on. One of those was Ethereum, and I think Solana was the one that he had higher than me. And I can just see it happening because again, it's on the tips of everybody's tongue who's talking about DeFi, who's talking about cryptocurrency. So why wouldn't they?
Yeah. I remember that actually. Mike, the investor, is like, Solana, what's that? And he just did a video on it. I think at least I know from Twitter. So now he's big into Solana, and that's the whole world is crowding in. It's a great Medium article in Solana. It's a whole bunch of bullish stuff. We can talk about that later. What's next on the agenda, George? I don't want to bore people with just Ethereum talk.
No, I mean that's a real good topic. I mean, we could go off a little bit because you guys both manage Solana. And I want to get your opinion. Sam, the CEO of FTX and Alameda, right? Yeah. He's big into Solana. He has invested so much money into Solana and all these dApps that's coming on board Solana. Why do you think that's the case? Do you have a guess why?
Well, I mean, James, I don't know how James went deep into Solana. To me, I think we're all the same people almost as far as investment. I like to invest into people and the teams around it. So you see, like the team there is the same kind of team I like to invest into, like in a Polkadot, the same team that I like to invest into, like a Voyager and things like that. So I see like the teams doing great things. I think the throughput, the transactions per second, and just the amazing amount of things they've done in such a short amount of time, as far as like getting that product out there, getting things going, actually putting it out, and actually having the investors come there. It makes you sit back and go, what is it that I don't know about this one? I think it could be a great one. Again, I believe it's a layer 1 solution, right? So it's not like we have a layer 2 on top of something. So I think it'll do well. It's just, again, it all comes down to it. And I think the last thing I'll say is I think there's room for a lot of different smart contract platforms. It's not just Ethereum take everything. There's just pieces for everybody.
Do you have an opinion, James?
Oh, I can talk for hours.
Well, no.
I started digging into
in
the
10 seconds.
So okay. I'll try to get 60 seconds. Give me 60 seconds. So I got into Ethereum big time right at March last year. So my cost basis is about 200 for Ethereum. So that's why it's a huge part of my portfolio. So it's heavy in Bitcoin, Ethereum, because I got in early. But I always heard all year last year, ETH killer, ETH killer, ETH killer. So I made it my point. It's like, okay, let me go find, if there is an ETH killer, what does it look like? That was my fascination. So I went on the hunt, looked at them all, and my conclusion was Solana. If there is an ETH killer, which it doesn't matter because, again, the market's big enough for everybody, it is Solana. And I did a detailed study on that. And then afterwards, it was so weird. Like a week or so after I finished, I found out that Andreessen Horowitz, who's probably the heaviest investor in blockchain technologies, him and a bunch of others put in over $300 million into Solana. And Solana has all the ingredients we're looking for. It's wicked fast. It is highly scalable, highly efficient. It's a 4th generation blockchain and yada, yada. Finality in 0.4 of a second and all this other good stuff. So it's just a killer. It's a killer. And that's one of the reasons why people say Cardano. It's like, have you looked at Solana? So that's, I know I don't want to make any enemies here on this channel, but literally it's a slayer. So,
let me add something to that. And I want to get both of your opinions on this. I totally agree about Solana. I mean, from a technical perspective, it's really, really advanced. It's amazing how fast they pushed out Solana. That already scales, doesn't need a layer 2, has so much investors and a whole ecosystem, like within a short amount of time. And one thing you said, James, that's interesting is the investors. Because I've looked at like the top VCs, crypto VCs, and kind of try to correlate the projects they invested in, right? It kind of gives you a hint of who they like. Guess who like which project that no investor has invested in? It's Cardano. None of the big VCs have invested in Cardano.
You know why?
Okay, explain why. I was going to ask you why.
So, Anyway, we don't need to talk about that because it's not a good. People love it just like people love XRP. So I don't think we need to compare them. But again, Solana is one thing that's just bubbling up, and that's one of the ones that, even though it's a big cap crypto, it has the potential to 10x in this bull market. So anyway, enough on Solana.
Like you have some juicy to say, but you're holding back.
Well,
go ahead and say it, James. Come on, say
it.
it.
We'll get to hopefully a couple of more questions first and see what the audience wants to hear as well.
Or maybe next episode we'll ask James this question.
Yes.
Yeah. But I also built some very detailed pricing models. And my thesis is basically, if Solana can get to 1/15 of the market cap of Ethereum, where I think the market cap of Ethereum is going during this bull market, it's a 10x. So that's all. Just numbers.
So I have a question for Rob that someone asked, and I think this would be good topic too. Voyager. So Rob, you're a big fan of Voyager, right?
Yeah, I like Voyager.
Can you explain, because I like Voyager. I got introduced to them through live chat earlier this year, and since then VGX has done very well. It shot up and came down, but still it's way above where it was before.
Yeah.
Maybe explain
Sure. Yeah. What it's all about. Like,
Well, no, the one thing is, why do you need a VGX token right now? Because it seems like it's kind of pointless token.
no, you don't need a VGX token right now. Right now, you don't need a VGX token. Right now, you don't need. Actually, if you think about it, like, is there any tokens that we need to do anything really besides Ethereum for gas and stuff like that, which is like ridiculously overpriced? Let's just put that out there.
Yeah.
So VGX token right now, nobody needs it. But here's the thing. So if you're in America, outside of New York, because New York has all these different regulations and whatnot, you can use the Voyager app. What's great about the Voyager app is that it's not an exchange, it's a brokerage. So it's supposed to go to all these different exchanges and find you the best price. It's kind of like the hotels.com, right? And that part's great. So why do we need a VGX token? You don't. But there's this thing going on right now called a token swap. And the token swap, VGX, they took over Ethos. Remember Ethos back in the day?
Yeah, I remember.
They took that over. Yeah, they took it over around 2019, 2020, early 2020.
Yeah.
Became the VGX token, and now they're doing a token swap for the VGX token and the LGO token to get the VGX token. But what does that do for you? So here's what it does. So if you're going to use the platform, which is Voyager, wouldn't it be great to not only get less of the prices as composed to like all the different exchanges? What if you could get 3x of the price savings that you could? Well, that'd be like the third tier. What if you could get, the free debit card? Well, that'd be nice. Kind of like crypto.com. What if you could increase your APY for the cryptos that you hold between 0.5% to 1.5% based on the VGX tokens that you do hold? What if you could get an increase in the staking based on the VGX token that you hold? So if you look at the things that you want to do on a platform, if you like saving money, some of us do. Some of us like wasting money. I don't know. So maybe you just say, you know what? Maybe I'd like to hold this Voyager token because I'm going to use Voyager a lot. I'm going to tell you something about myself. Sometimes I get lazy. I don't transfer the crypto off of Voyager like I should into my ledger. I let it sit around there too long. And it's nice to get, like with USDC 9%, Bitcoin, you're looking at 4.25 to 6.5%.
Right.
And then as the Voyager loyalty program comes into effect September, I think it's the first week of September, then the Voyager loyalty program goes into effect. So right now when I say you don't need the Voyager token, you don't need the Voyager token. But later on, you probably might. And that's why I'm a big fan of Voyager. On top of the fact that Steve Ehrlich, who's a CEO, he was a CEO of Lightspeed Institutional Services and the CEO of E-Trade. So if anybody knows to navigate the waters of regulation, it will be him. And there's a reason why we see a problem with BlockFi. We don't see a problem with like a Celsius and Voyager. So I'm actually
doing an interesting.
I think you should you should cross your fingers. I think the legal problems for BlockFi is because they're biggest and US based. That's why it hasn't hit Celsius yet. But Voyager, I think they're definitely on their radar because they're based in New York. I don't know. That's just my feeling. But go on, James. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no. I've been looking into all of the different utility tokens, as I refer to them as. And I have a Voyager account. I do enjoy some of the staking capabilities they have there as well. But the spreads suck. So if you're an active trader, this is not for you. If you need power tools, it's not for you. They say free commission trading, but they take 2 or 3% on the spread, which isn't good. However, I'm kind of fascinated by the amount of Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet. And from an investment perspective, I don't believe in their utility token, but the stock might be interesting. It's VYGVF or something, OTC in the US. It's on the Canadian Toronto Stock Exchange. So I'm going to have a look at that.
I mean, look at this. They have 16,400 on a Bitcoin on the balance sheet.
Yep. It's huge. And if Bitcoin goes to $100,000, that stock is going to 4x. Yeah. So, well, 3x at least.
I think for a future DCA episode, we should talk about rehypothecation because obviously we just kind of touched upon it. BlockFi, Celsius, Nexo. You could put Voyager in there, and there's several other, I think, projects that does that. I think that's going to be a really good topic. Like, whether or not there's any dangers to it, whether or not it's going to be regulated, stuff like that. It looks like it is. It looks like it's going down that path pretty soon.
Yeah.
All right. People are talking about this, so we have to talk about it. And this leads anyways to our next question, like the next one that we should be talking about anyways. What are you anticipating? What are you guys anticipating this week? Bitcoin has come down a little bit, 39.4. People in the chat is freaking out again. What are you guys thinking about this week?
Well, there's two things I think about this week. Is first of all, big picture, more like what does August mean for Bitcoin? I can answer that, but immediately coming up this week, there's a few interesting things happening. First of all, when I look at the 10-year benchmark note bond yield, it's the lowest level since Feb, and that is a big driver of a couple of different elements in the macro scene that impact crypto. I think also there's going to be a move to some safety, kind of the C19 plays. Obviously, the big money banks are beginning to tell people, hey, get out of the high tech. And we saw this actually happen back in April anyway, when you saw things like ARK Invest funds get hammered completely. So there will be a movement to safety. My big question, and what I anticipate, because now the word is out, inflation, we have a slowdown in the economy. Will Bitcoin be part of that move to safety going forward? And I think it's only a matter of time, because I did see the breakdown, the correlation between the stock market and Bitcoin. Bitcoin 55% off, stock market all-time highs. It's never happened before. So from that perspective, I think we might see an interesting move in August. And then the August numbers, historically, where we are in the halving cycle, August is killer. The returns are typically between 39% and 59%. So could be good. Fingers crossed. But sometimes if I say a month is going to be good, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't want to jinx it. So let me retract that last statement.
George, what do you think? Where do you think it's going to go?
For me, I think nothing changes. I mean, like based on our conversation, Bitcoin went up, 10, 11 days straight. There's bound to be days where it comes back down again. But I'm interested to see what happens in August, because traditionally for Bitcoin has been pretty good in August. But if there is some kind of stock market correction, not crash, but even any kind of correction, it'll be interesting to see, if Bitcoin can decouple or not. Obviously, if you look at history, like last year in March, when we had that doomsday black swan event, Bitcoin didn't hold very well, but it did recover really quick. In about a month or two, we had that V-shaped recovery. Again, during that time, people were just panicking like crazy. And then people that panicked lost out a lot. But if you took advantage, then you would have gained 10x, 20x, 50x. But it's interesting, because I hear so many people, including James, that think that August could be a very negative month for stock market. And I want to see that decoupling. I don't think we have seen that yet, where if you see Dow or S&P or NASDAQ drop 20% in a month, and then Bitcoin rally, 100%. I don't think we've seen that before. That'll be interesting. But just this week in particular, I don't, there might be some weakness because it's gone up, 10, 11 days, but it doesn't derail the rally or the bull run, in my opinion.
I think you guys are right. I just don't see, like everybody talks. I mean, we want decoupling, but to actually get it is another thing. And I know we always talk about the store of value, right? Yeah. But right now, I just don't see how that is going to actually happen. I do see, though, that because I still think that a lot of these institutional players are dabbling over here in cryptocurrency markets. It only makes sense. And if there's a big drop off, I think that you're going to see a drop off in the crypto market. I don't see any other way around that. I just don't. And then the last thing I'll say is there was a great video from it was like 1996, 97. It was Peter Lynch, and he was given a speech about things that had gone on throughout his life. He was born in like the 50s. And he's talked about, and everybody at home, you can see this everywhere. He says you can, and he was talking about newspapers back then. He goes, you can look at the newspapers and you can say that there's going to be a depression, a Great Depression, and that this was going to save it. And then, in the 60s, the same thing. There was going to be a huge depression. It was going to go and be wiped out. 70s, 80s. He goes, well, 80s was actually, he said, 80s was actually a pretty good year for the stock market. And he goes, and it still holds true today. He goes, but what I can tell you is that, he goes, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can just tell you that in the next 3, 5, 10, 20 years, he goes, the market will increase. There'll be great numbers coming up. He goes, I don't know when that's going to happen. He goes, but I can just tell you that if you just keep investing, he goes, good things will happen. And I think it's the same thing with crypto and digital assets. I just like when people say, what's going to happen next week? I'm like, it's a good question. Go over to George and James and invest answers. Maybe they got the answer. I don't have it, but I can tell you this. When things go down, you buy, and usually, not all the time, works out pretty well.
Good.
Here's one of my favorite, quotes, and it happens to be from Peter Lynch. Far more money has been lost by investors preparing for corrections or trying to anticipate corrections than have been lost in corrections themselves. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and you know what? You know what I really agree with? I think people use that fear, that part of your brain that is scared. And like James even had a great a picture today on Twitter. It was Scott Menard from Guggenheim, and he's sitting there on this looks like he's just hanging out at some lake or something, and it just says still waiting for 15K. And it's the same thing because people use this fear, and you can see it in like a certain gold bug. I will not mention his name. I promised myself I never would. And he's been using the same thing for like 15 years, and it is always the same garbage that never really happens. So I totally agree with those types of statements. Now, having said that, I don't want to have anybody be reckless and go, I shouldn't prepare and I should just dump all my money into it. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm saying that be cautious, be aware, do more research. I think you should be pretty good.
So there's a couple of super chats. I'm taking note of them as well, and we can cover them at the end. But a couple of questions regarding the tax bill and stuff like that.
I saw taxes. That.
So
yeah, we could do that if we have some time, because those are going to be very long. And there's a big one about James. You need to share your mysterious info on Cardano. But we may have to share that. We might have to wait for.
There's no info at all. It's just I like to see results. I get impatient. I'm waiting 5 years for something to happen.
This is true.
And that time, the market's caught up a lot and kind of frog leaped them. So that's all. I'm not a Cardano hater. I own Cardano. I have a small position in it. So,
let's move on. And I think based on your previous answer, I already know what is the number one project that you're most bullish on. James, is it Solana for you?
Right now,
yes.
Yeah. So I look at projects based on where they are in the cycle, how cheap they are based on my future price predictions. But I think Solana is definitely my number one project. But I have, Avalanche, Aave, Polkadot, Uniswap, Ethereum, etc. So I'm in a lot of different things, but I think Solana could truly be a game changer.
Rob, what about you?
So,
Voyager,
the one that I'm most excited about, and I think you could say bullish, is a one called World Mobile Token, and that's the one that goes into sub-Saharan Africa. They provide the power sources, the solar panels, and also those air mesh pods to give telecommunications and internet service to the last, as they call it, the last mile for different spots in these areas. So they're trying to connect people who can't. And then they use the World Mobile Token, which is built on the Cardano blockchain, as their digital ID, their infrastructure, their DeFi, their finance, all that stuff. So that's one of the big ones. But I will say this, as far as Solana, because of James and Mike the Investor, that is one of the few ones that I still continue to this day to dollar cost average. To this day.
Interesting. For me, I don't know. Like, there's so much I love. I have been DCAing into a lot of these projects, even the big ones, even like Ethereum and Cardano and Solana, VeChain, a lot of these, just small amounts, not anything big. But right now, what I'm looking at is because there is a market turnaround, what I'm really interested is looking at those small cap gems that shot up, they shot up because of FOMO. They came down because of panic selling, and now they're starting to turn around again. And a lot of them are involved or are NFT plays. I think NFTs, just like DeFi, is going to grow. It could be more than just digital collectibles, and it's very, very early. So I'm looking at a lot of like these NFT projects and projects that's kind of involved with it. For example, I looked at a project, a very small one called BPro back in the day, and they're about providing a code base for other projects to use, and they were providing a way for projects to get into esports or esports betting, also to create their own token, DeFi, on-chain staking. But they recently launched the NFT marketplace code base, and others have jumped on board because they all want to create NFT marketplaces. So BPro is coming back up again. So, small little projects like that, I'm DCing a little bit more, because if the market continues on, like I think it will, these will come back full force. So that's just me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are into the micro.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me to analyze BPro because I'm into engine in a big way, and did a detailed review and gave it a thumbs up. BPro we'll have a look at, but there's so many projects out there where I'm looking at the truly either a leader in the category or the truly disruptive players. That's what I try to find out of the garbage can when I start going beyond the top 50, and it's hard because 90% of them are going to fail.
Yeah, that is true. But here's the thing, guys, like we say that and we know that, but all the bad coins from 2017, they're still around. It's like impossible to kill crypto, because at any point in time, the founders or whatever can respin up, their project and market it some more, and it just seems like it's right back on track again. It's actually really hard to kill these projects. That's why the number keeps going up and up and up and up.
Yeah, but they do have a half-life, and as Willy Woo talks about, they degenerate over time, and they become half as impactful, half as worthy. Mm-hmm. I think after this particular bull market, I think a lot of them will hit the wall. People will be smarter and, put their money in the proper projects. And like I still have people saying, "Oh well, Shiba Inu, that's my retirement ticket." It's like, come on, that breaks my heart when I hear that type of stuff.
Hey,
but I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Okay, I don't like Shiba. I don't like any of the meme coins other than Doge, because I think it's not gonna go away. But what do you say to people that have made enormous amount of money from Shiba and other meme coins, and they're like,
cash out.
It could be useless, but it made a lot of people money. What do you say to people like that?
Yeah, tell them to cash out. When you're ahead, if you want to leave 10% in, keep 10% in it.
Right.
But take your money off the table and put it somewhere safe. And people do. I know a lot of people that bought something at like 0.008 cents, and now it's like at 8 cents.
Yeah.
It's like, go for it. It's 100x. Cash out. Don't sit on it.
It's tough, because like when people make that much money, it's like hitting a lottery.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, it worked out for me, and it can work out for you. Well, I don't know if it really can. I don't know if it can. I don't know if we're going to see Dogecoin back up to 67 cents anytime soon, or Shiba Inu, whatever else it was. I just look at projects who have a good team and they actually have utility. I honestly, like, if someone in the chats can tell me what Shiba Inu does, that'd be great.
Well, they came out with a Shiba swap. That's the latest thing. So it adds some kind of utility, AMM on top of Shiba. So can you argue that it has use case now? I guess, but I don't know. It's a hard one. It's a hard one to answer.
Stuff. What else?
All right, here's a good one. This is a really good one. What are your plans? What do you guys plan on doing for profit taking? So as we go forward, Bitcoin breaks 40, 50, 60, 100K. Do you have plans, first of all, to profit take? And if so, how would you do it?
I'm I've always shared my exit, as I call it, the exit strategy, but you never really exit, right? So even though I have an exit strategy, I'm not going to ever sell out of everything. And I'll be honest with you, I'll base it on the predictions that I think of where things are going. And a lot of the things that I thought were going to, like Theta, for example. I forgot the numbers, but I thought Theta would do, I can't remember what it was, but it actually hit the number I thought it was in 6 months instead of taking a full year.
Theta?
So when I was going through it, I would take 20% profits and 20% profits. And I actually didn't take them all the way. And I was like, well, I should have done that. And I didn't do it. But the other things is I just look at where I think things are going. And I just kind of go from there and just take profits along the way. Because I know that what goes up will inevitably come down. And then people always ask me, well, are you still dollar cost averaging Bitcoin? I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. Once Bitcoin, I always thought that Bitcoin would go to around 100 to 130,000 for this cycle. And then it would regress back to 30, 35K. So everything past 30K, I have not dollar cost averaged. But there's other things that I missed out. And I will never get the right ones, but I just kind of look at it and go, okay, this is where I think it's going. I'm going to take 20% ladders and then off I go. But I'll always leave some in.
How high do you wait for it to go before you take off the 20%?
So for me, it always works on probability. So when I look at crypto, the safest crypto in the most volatile market is Bitcoin. I think that's a pretty safe bet. So I think, okay, well, if I think it's going to go to about on 130K or so, what I'll do is I'll say, well, if it's going to go back to 30K, I think I have it I took profits at 25K, and then I took profits at, I think, around 50K. And then I just let it go up and then off. And I think the next stop was, I want to say 85, 90K, I forgot. But it's all tiered as things go up, and then off I go. Now I could wait until it hits to like 100K and then take 80% off the table. But I think that's to me, it's a bad idea, because if it doesn't hit 80, let's say it hits 78,000, well, I'm just, I'm out.
Right. So what do you do with that though? When you take out the 20%, do you reinvest it somewhere else, or do you just hold it? No, because so here's the thing, like cash isn't great, because you're going to lose 2%. I mean, on average, depending. Right. I mean, it's probably going to be more. So for me, I roll that into properties. It's one of my favorite ones to actually get into. James is like, he's kind of on the same wavelength as me. So properties and land, also the Amazon business, and then our sports facility. So if I can put that into like tangible assets, that's what I will do and leave it that way. And that's pretty much it. But then also, I mean, I'll keep it in for, like, there's some other things I'm playing around with. Like, I think I'm going to leave more things into like a Polkadot, like a Cardano, like a Solana, because of the staking. But the other stuff, I'll probably take some out, get tangible assets. And then, because what's great about properties is we do a lot of Airbnb short-term rentals. So that's just, I mean, you put your money in there and then it generates money for you and it comes back to you. So it's like a no-brainer for us. But do you ever plan on taking it out of the tangible assets and putting it back into an intangible asset like crypto again? Or your plan is just to keep taking it out until it's all on tangible assets? So everybody thinks that, well, there's a couple of different ways. They think there's a super cycle coming. I don't believe that's actually true. They think that we're just going to keep going up. Maybe there's an elongated cycle. I still believe in some way of a 4-year cycle. Mm-hmm. So I think that at some point, there's going to be a natural exuberance where people are just going to be a big hockey stick and it's going to go crazy. And it's going to crash back down. Now, how fast it's going to crash back down, I don't know. But it's almost like just like in 2017, when everything started to crash in 2018, you saw everything just go from like 20,000 to 15,000 to 12 to 6 to 5 or whatever it was very quickly, because once it starts going, we all know how fast it can go. So what I'll do is I'll wait for that big crash to come in, because I know it's I know it's coming. I know there's a crash at some point coming. And if it doesn't come, well, it doesn't come. And that's it. And then I'll look for another project maybe later on. James, what about you?
So what I do is I build unique models for every single altcoin, and I take every percentage based on the entry price and my price target. So it's a little more complicated than I need, but some of the stuff that I hold, I will keep forever. For example, Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, I'll definitely will not be selling that because the cost basis is so low. So the tax bill wouldn't be worth it, but I'll hedge it using options instead. So that way I don't have to sell.
Can I just get you to say your sources instead of models?
My supermodels. Yeah.
You know what? For me, I think it's a combination of both. I don't have any crazy models like James, but I'm like you, Rob. But I'm having that hard time, and we go off on a tangent on just this alone. But for me, once Bitcoin goes back above 64 and starts making new highs, I do plan on taking profits, more like 10% cuts, and it's going to get to a point where I feel like, okay, that's enough. And I'm just going to let the rest ride because I got in, pretty low, even if it fell down 85%, which I don't think will happen this time, I'll still be okay. So I'm going to hold some forever. But, with that profit, I do hold a lot right now in cash because I know cash, yes, it devalues itself, basically 2%, 5% every year. But if there is a big correction with the stock market, with real estate, with crypto, I'll be able to buy back in. So I have not reinvested that yet into like tangible assets like real estate or businesses or anything because I'm trying to prepare for that. The thing is, if that doesn't come, then it's pointless of having so much cash on the side. But I've been waiting to put that money into something, and I'm having a really hard time getting myself to do so because I feel like there is a big correction coming, and it's going to affect basically all markets. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Or do you guys just ignore the fact that
cash is trash?
If it doesn't, who cares?
Yeah, cash is trash. You're losing 15% per year. But I moved to a bigger cash position over the last couple of weeks because I anticipate a bit of softness in the equity market. But even if I just hold cash, I use it as margin to do things like sell puts to generate perpetual income. So from that perspective, I always use all the margin I have. But I think there's just simply too much money in the system, too much money slushing around for the stock market to crash. I mean, where are you going to park your money? Nobody's going to leave it in a bank. It's shrinking at 15% per year. That's why crypto is so hot. That's why the equity market is breaking all-time highs. Even last week, what blew me away on Thursday, GDP numbers missed by over 200 basis points. Stock market is like this. Normally that would rattle everybody. It's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, but isn't it like, isn't the Fed kind of bailing out everything for the stock market?
Printing, and they have to. They paint themselves into a box. They got to keep interest rates low, and they got to keep printing. They got to keep raising the debt ceiling. It's pure goodness. As I always say, all roads lead to Bitcoin. Yeah, there's no other way around it.
I think, you can say, roads lead to Bitcoin, and that's true. I mean, to have that asset, but I got to tell you, I mean, properties and land, and look, here's the thing. Everybody's got to live somewhere. You got to have a roof over your head at some point. So I don't care if you're doing short-term or long-term rentals. You got to come someplace, and you're going to come to me. And that's what it comes down to. And I know people, and I know this is not going to be unpopular, but it's the truth. People will say, well, cash is trash. Cash is potentially trash, but I will tell you right now, cash in some situations are king. How many times when we hit 64,000 and the market cap was $2.5 trillion, and then we had this huge crash. If you had a bunch of dry powder on the sides, well, you were having a great time, right? Because you were buying flash sales like crazy. Now, if you didn't, and then you bought at the top, well, not so great. But I know people say cash is awful and everything else. I still like to have cash on hand because it can buy me things. And I do think that not only is the stock market going to go down at some point, crypto at some point, I also think there's going to be a crash for the property, because you cannot keep up with these prices the way they are right now. Wait 18 months and you're going to get a flash sale on that too.
Yep. Cool.
I mean, I agree with you. Cash is not trash when you could use it to buy the dips. I mean, that's very important, right? Yeah. If you don't have any cash, then you could continue to hold, which is fine. But if you have cash, you're able to take advantage, and then that's fantastic. But,
exactly. And it's okay to sit on cash for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks,
Yeah.
10 weeks, but don't
Yeah.
sit on a bunch of cash for a year, because that's just $100,000 becomes $85,000.
Yeah.
That's what you think of it. So
Yeah, but it's interesting. You say, where's the cash go, right, James? It's like all roads lead to Bitcoin. But you look at everything else, any kind of assets has gone up through the roof, right? So it seems like people are just spending that money as much as they can into any kind of asset. It could be watches, it could be basketball cards. I'm just going to showcase this because this is something I picked up recently. This is a LeBron James rookie card, autographed.
Oh,
This is $30,000. When a few years ago, this was like $1,000 at most. So I mean, there's a lot of money just going.
yeah, you're right. And what I mean by, I don't say all roads lead to Bitcoin, but anything hard assets, real estate, equities, in select names, etc. What's been amazing to me is how weak gold has been over the last 11 years based on purchasing power. It's lost 40% of its value. And gold has only gone up 4.5 times in 200 years. Think about that.
That's true.
And it's 20,000 in the stock market time. So anyway,
That is a great point. Gold.
Do you guys hold gold at all? I'm just curious.
Yes,
Yes,
I do.
And the reason being,
I got it drilled into my head as a young kid that you had to got gold, have a gold. So I bought gold and I just hold on to it. I just think, but the thing is, how much of the gold do I actually own? It's very small. It's very small.
Okay.
But it's just something that I have there. So, and also it helps when I get gold bugs and silver bugs on my channel. I'm like, look, I own gold and silver too. There's nothing wrong with that. You can own whatever you want to. But I'm telling you, I do believe truly that some of the best gains are in cryptocurrency digital assets over the next 5 to 10 years. I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. Ask my wife. But I think it could do well.
James, do you own gold?
I have some antique Spanish sovereign coins, but it's not for the gold value. It's because they are 400 years old. So like your little baseball card. Or whatever card that was.
Yeah, it was a basketball, but
That was cool.
Close. I was close.
That was cool. 30,000.
Basketball cards or any football, baseball. Some of these rookies, like Tom Brady, recently had one of his rookie cards sell for like $3 million. These cards are going nuts. It's like modern day art. Again, sports collectors, they're treating it like art, so they're paying so much because there's so much money everywhere, and it's just insane.
Antique Porsches.
Yeah,
Through the roof. All 7 digits now. Anything over 30 years is over $1 million.
No way.
I mean,
that's right. I read that.
It's any kind of exotic cars. I mean, people in crypto talk about Lambos. You can't find a new Lambo, and all the used Lambos cost more than a new MSRP price because all the rich people are buying all the Lambos. And any kind of exotic car out there, it's really wild how everything has gone up. All right, so last question. I think before we really run out of time and before we do some Q&A is. What do you think about YouTube banning crypto accounts? Have you guys experienced it? Have you guys had your channel disciplined or banned before?
I think I'm too new for it to happen. Nobody knows I'm around. So, but I did read a little bit about some of this from this Mr. Armstrong fellow. They ban for a reason, but I don't know what the censorship reason is. It might have been mentioning some things that were dangerous or frowned upon by Google or the government. We've got to remember, there's always somebody behind the curtain pressing the buttons. Like there's somebody somewhere who got upset, made a phone call to some politician that made a phone call to somebody at Google and said, hey, take this guy down. That's why these things happen. But they always seem to pop back up again. I did a little bit of research into this guy called Crypto. I think he's in Dubai or something, a German fellow. And he had some problems as well, but they pop back up.
Yes.
So I personally, I'm not concerned. It's more important to me is things like a Patreon community and stuff. And there's always ways to reappear ourselves. We have Twitter followings and there's different channels like Theta we could be on, or Twitch. So I'm not concerned.
Yeah,
Rob,
and then
what about you?
George, didn't you get didn't your channel go down for a bit?
Oh yeah, yeah. Mine
Really?
didn't go down for a little bit. It went down for 3 months.
That's what I
Really?
heard. I heard that about you. Someone told me, and I was like, no, I think he's been around. But they're like, no, he was gone for a while. So what happened?
Just like all these guys, I was streaming. I didn't even say anything because back then, this was early on in 2020. All the crypto channels was getting banned at that time, and I think it's because Google sent everyone home, so they were relying on just machine learning and stuff like that to detect key phrases and words, and then they would just ban based on that. So yeah, my channel, I remember at the time everyone else was getting banned, and they got it back within a day or a week. And I got banned. I'm like, guys, give it back to me. And I kept tweeting them, Team YouTube kept opening cases, nothing. So 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, I had to stream everywhere else, like on Periscope and Facebook Live and stuff like that. Finally, I got it back. I think in my case, it's because once I got banned, someone took their channel and renamed it to Cryptos Are Us. So I think YouTube, when they were trying to reinstate it, they're like, oh, this channel exists already, so they can't do anything or something like that. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's happening again because there's a lot of scammer streams, right? I'm sure you guys have seen it, like an interview from MicroStrategy or someone else being played, and they ask people to like send in their Bitcoin. And somehow that still works. People still get fooled by that. So I think YouTube is trying to detect what's real, what's not, especially with live streams. And their algorithm is just not that good at detecting it, It sucks, but it seems like these channels do come back. They're not permanent bans, but yeah, it does really suck.
Yeah, I think Crypto Crow got recently taken down for like 2 or 3 days, and then
really?
you had, and then that was like about a month or 2 months ago, and then of course Armstrong got taken down for like a day or something like that. But then there was Graham Stephan, right? He did a video where YouTube reached out to him and said they're going to ban his channel because of all the different, for whatever reason. He had his different theories, but like I see it in everybody's channel. Like you'll see my name, you'll see James's Invest Answer, you'll see George and Cryptos Are Us, and they're all like, hey, come on over to this website and I'll give you free Bitcoin and blah, 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 right? And so that's why I implemented that spam filter stuff. Ugh, it's awful. But who's the guy from Crypto Banter? Rand. He put something on Twitter where he said something like, "Does this concern you?" And it was a snippet from the Google terms of service as far as like advertisements, and it pretty much said if you're talking about an ICO or are evaluating cryptocurrency or are actively talking about purchasing cryptocurrency, then it's not allowed. And that was for Google. And people were saying they're going to ban all the YouTubers. Like, no, that's not how it works. They're doing that for like the Google ad platform AdWords.
Yes,
so when they do something like that, it's just like for here, like we can have like I said, you can have a YouTube channel about guns, right? And just talk about guns, how great they are, but you can't advertise guns for a Google ad. So I don't. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But right now, it seems pretty good.
Yeah. Would you guys ever stream somewhere else like Theta or any other decentralized video platform?
Yeah. I stream. Sometimes I'll multi-stream over at Dan Clips and also stream at Theta at the same time. James?
I would too, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
See, it depends what the people want. I do what the audience wants. So this is all about them. It's not about me. So if somebody says, get off the air, I'll get off. If somebody says, put in subtitles.
Just like that. If one person says it, you're off.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I believe everything is Pareto efficient. So if literally 80% said, not interested, I'd be gone. So.
Well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, James. Everybody loves you. Well, most love you. There's always going to be some trolls out there. George knows those.
There's so many trolls out there.
I must say my channel is extremely respectful. Everybody is very kind, very gracious, and I've never worked with such a great bunch of people. So, you always expect 1% to be haters, but I don't even have that at all. So, I must say it's I thought being on the internet would be bad, but it's not bad at all. People are great. So
people are great. Yeah.
For the most part, people are great.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see those trolls come in later on.
Hope I didn't open a can of troll worms or whatever they were.
Hey, here's a good super chat question. I'm not that familiar. Someone asked about the stimulus bill tax situation. Please discuss. Did you guys hear anything about that, or maybe they're talking about the infrastructure bill?
It's the infrastructure bill. Yeah, that came up twice already. So I can chat about that for 60 seconds if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, it's first of all, it impacts anything regarding crypto, any brokerage, any decentralized exchange. The government is looking behind the couch to find money to pay for infrastructure because they can't keep on printing money. So they're trying to veil this whole thing as, hey, look, we're going to do some good. We're going to build some new infrastructure and we're going to screw the crypto people over the process. But the problem is they don't quite understand how everything works. And the government officials, I think Michael Saylor put it really well the other day. He said, it was about Elizabeth Warren. He said, I don't think she has 1,000 hours to sit down and put into understanding what this is all about. So it's okay for her to make mistakes. But the problem is, if she does want to start making decisions that impacts the space, she needs to do her homework. So the other thing about this crypto bill to fund infrastructure, it applies to hardware and software wallet manufacturers, multi-sig providers, and even miners. So they'll never be able to get their arms around this, nor they also expect exchanges and wallet manufacturers to do peer-to-peer reporting. So for example, if I buy 1,000 Ethereum on Coinbase and ship it to Uniswap and then store it on a ledger, it's like you can't keep track of that stuff. It's impossible. Who is the onus on to do it? So, they're just trying to find money, get people to own up. But I think, like any bill, it'll come out and it'll be negotiated. I think you said that once before as well, Rob. It's just they're trying to sketch it. So, don't be worried about it. It'll take them another 6 months, a year to figure out what this all means. It'll be heavily revised. One thing that is important, though, is for transfers above $10,000. That was put in place by the IRS. I can't remember the exact name of the law, but there's a special law, and that was for terrorist prevention after 9/11 20 years ago. And that type of stuff, if people are using crypto to move money around to fund terrorist organizations or criminal activities or human trafficking, I am all for that type of protection in place.
James, you shouldn't say that because some people are like, oh, how dare you? There should be no regulation. There should be some regulation. Sweet Mary and Joseph, there should be just a little bit.
Well, if there's not a little bit of regulation, the whole thing will be banned altogether. So you choose A or B. You can't have complete Wild West freedom. So in my opinion.
Yeah. I just want clarity. That's all I want. Like Simon Yu from StormX had a great point. He said, just do like a triage. Like when I was a medic, we just did triage, right? You'd have some kind of cryptocurrency, be like, okay, well, this is a currency. Okay, this is a commodity, and this is a security, and then off you go. You go to the SEC, the OCC, or the CFTC, and just do that. I just hope that they do the same thing that they did with the internet back in the early 90s. A little regulation goes a long way, but who knows?
I agree. I think some regulations are good to prevent, insider trading, manipulation, collusion, all the stuff that I think is happening with the exchanges right now. But it's a tricky thing because there's a lot of maximalists out there that wants none, like no regulation, Wild West, because this is true decentralization. We don't want any interference from the governments and stuff like that. So it's a hard balance to find, I guess, right? But I do think some regulations is good. But I guess we'll see.
I agree.
Guess we'll see. Rob, I'm finding that you're like the most interesting man in the world. So you mentioned you're a medic. You have Amazon business. You stream from a pool. You have sports recreation businesses. It seems like you're into everything.
I try to keep myself busy. I don't really. I just I got a lot of time, man. I got a lot of time. Kids are out of the house and all that good stuff. So yeah, but this was, I was in the Army a long time ago. I was like a medic a long time ago. Oh. And but now it's just the basic stuff. And I just try to pass on all my mistakes and all the different things that I picked up along the way. And hopefully I can help somebody else out to not screw up like I did. And that's, I think that's probably why I think all three of us have these channels.
Yeah. All right. Any final words from either of you gentlemen?
I just want to thank everybody for being here and hang tight. Buckle in. The next 10 years in this space will be extremely transformational. And the other thing I say is we're so early. This thing is less than 1.4% adopted. Crypto on planet Earth amongst human beings. So there's just so much more upside to go. And everything will be tokenized one day. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. And I think just like that video that I talked about in the very beginning, the Peter Lynch video, where he just talks about, look, there's going to be a lot of different ups and downs, a lot of bumps, and a lot of different things that will scare you. But if you look out in the long term, then things usually do work themselves out. And just look out where we're going. We already know where we've been. We know where we're at right now. Just look where we're going. I think everybody will be okay.
Yep. Future's bright.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Everybody out there in the chat as well. I tried to chat as much as I can, and I have a little keyboard. People are saying, how am I writing answers? I was excited as I was going. So big thank you as well to George and Rob. You guys be safe, and I'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah. Tune in, guys. Again, tune in to both of these guys, their channels. And of course, next week, same time, DCA, Digital Crypto Answers, same time, 7:30 CST, Sunday night. And we'll have a good chat again next week. All right.
Welcome.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care. Peace out.
Bye.
Thank you. That was it.